Sophia Martinez had exactly 3 seconds to realize her mistake before the scalding coffee left her hands and splashed directly onto the chest of Blake Morrison, CEO of Morrison Tech and the most intimidating man she had ever worked for. The conference room fell silent. 20 pairs of eyes turned toward her in horror. Sophia felt her face drain of all color as she stared at the spreading brown stain across Blake's pristine white shirt. Her hands shaking as she grabbed napkins from the table and stepped forward. "I didn't see you there. I was reaching for the projector remote and oh my goodness, I'm so sorry." Blake looked down at his ruined shirt, then up at Sophia. His jaw was tight, his green eyes unreadable. For a moment, she was certain she was about to be fired in front of everyone. Instead, simply removed his suit jacket and draped it over his arm. "It's fine," he said, his voice controlled and even. "Accidents happen. Continue with your presentation, Miss Martinez." Sophia nodded mutely, but her hands wouldn't stop trembling as she clicked through her design mock-ups for the new client campaign. She could feel Blake's eyes on her throughout the entire presentation, and it made her stumble over her words more than once. When the meeting finally ended, Sophia gathered her materials quickly, desperate to escape. But as she reached the door, Blake's assistant caught her arm. "Mr. Morrison would like to see you in his office in 10 minutes, the woman said with a sympathetic smile. Sophia spent those 10 minutes in the bathroom, trying to calm her racing heart. She had worked at Morrison Tech for 2 years, always staying under the radar, doing excellent work, but never drawing attention to herself. That was how she liked it. Sophia had never been comfortable in the spotlight, never been the type to chase romance or drama. At 26, she had focused entirely on building her career, on being independent and self-sufficient, and now she was about to lose her job over a cup of coffee. When she knocked on Blake's office door, his deep voice called for her to enter. The office was enormous, with floored-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Blake stood by the window, now wearing a fresh shirt that his assistant must have retrieved from somewhere. "I really am terribly sorry," Sophia began, but he held up a hand. "I told you. It was an accident," Blake said, turning to face her. "I'm not going to fire you over spilled coffee, Miss Martinez. Your work is excellent." That campaign presentation was impressive. Sophia blinked in surprise. "Thank you, sir. How long have you been with the company?" he asked, moving to sit on the edge of his desk rather than behind it. 2 years next month," she answered. "And you've never been late, never missed a deadline, and consistently produce work that exceeds expectations," Blake said, as if reading from a file he had memorized. "Why haven't we promoted you yet?" "I don't know, sir. I've been happy in my current position." Blake studied her for a long moment, and Sophia felt heat rising to her cheeks under his intense gaze. She had never been this close to him before, never really looked at him properly. Blake Morrison was devastatingly handsome, with dark hair that had just a touch of gray at the temples, sharp features, and those striking green eyes that seemed to see right through her. "You should go home early today," he said finally. "Consider it compensation for the embarrassment I caused by putting you on the spot in front of everyone." "You didn't cause anything, sir?" "It was my fault. Still take the afternoon." "I'll see you Monday." Sophia nodded and left, feeling more confused than relieved. What she didn't know was that later that afternoon, Blake would overhear a conversation in the break room that would change everything. He had gone to get coffee, something he rarely did himself, but his assistant was at lunch. As he approached, he heard Sophia's voice mixed with 2 other women. "Come on, Sophia. There has to be someone," one woman was saying. "You're 26. You've never even been on a date?" "It's not that weird," Sophia defended herself. "I've just always been focused on other things. School, work, taking care of my mom when she was sick. Romance never seemed like a priority." "But you've never even kissed anyone?" the other woman asked, her voice filled with disbelief. "No," Sophia admitted quietly. "I know it's strange. I just never met anyone who made me want to. And by the time I realized I was so far behind everyone else, it felt too awkward to even try." Blake found himself frozen outside the break room, the coffee forgotten. Sophia Martinez had never been in a relationship, never been kissed. The information settled into his mind with unexpected weight. Blake Morrison had built his entire professional reputation on control and boundaries. He had watched too many colleagues ruin their careers and lives by mixing business with pleasure, and he had sworn he would never make that mistake. His company policy explicitly discouraged workplace relationships. He had never looked twice at any of his employees. Until now, the realization hit him like a physical blow. He wanted to protect her, wanted to be the one to show her what she had been missing, wanted to make sure that when she finally decided to take that step, it would be with someone who would treasure her, who would be patient and careful with her inexperience. He wanted to be that person. Blake returned to his office without the coffee, his mind racing. This was insane. This was against everything he stood for. He couldn't possibly pursue Sophia. She worked for him. She was young, innocent, completely off limits. But over the weekend, he couldn't stop thinking about her. About the way she had looked so mortified about the coffee incident, about her quiet competence and the rare, beautiful smile that transformed her face when she was proud of her work. By Monday morning, Blake had made a decision. He couldn't act on his feelings, but he could watch over her from a distance. Make sure she was appreciated at the company. Ensure she had everything she needed to succeed. It started small. A brief email praising a project she had completed, making sure her workload was manageable. Noticing when she worked late and having security check that she got to her car safely, then it escalated. He found himself learning her coffee order and having it delivered to her desk anonymously, leaving notes on her computer with helpful feedback on her designs, always unsigned, ensuring she got credit for her ideas in meetings. Sophia noticed the changes, of course. She mentioned to her coworkers that someone seemed to be looking out for her, but she never suspected it was Blake. For 3 months, Blake maintained this careful distance, content to be her anonymous guardian. He told himself it was enough just to ensure she was happy and thriving. Then Ryan Chen arrived. The new marketing director was everything Blake was not. Young, charming, outgoing, and immediately interested in Sophia. Ryan was 30 years old, with an easy smile and the kind of confidence that came from never having been rejected in his life. Blake watched from his office as Ryan stopped by Sophia's desk on his second day, leaning casually against her cubicle wall as he introduced himself. He watched Sophia smile shyly, tucking her hair behind her ear in a gesture that Blake had come to recognize as her nervous tell. Something dark and possessive unfurled in Blake's chest. Something he had never felt before and didn't know how to control. Jealousy. Over the next 2 weeks, Ryan made his interest abundantly clear. He always seemed to have a reason to collaborate with the design team. He brought Sophia lunch from the expensive cafe down the street. He stayed late when she stayed late. Offering to help with whatever project she was working on, Blake found himself manufacturing reasons to interrupt them, suddenly needing design reviews that couldn't wait, calling impromptu meetings that required Sophia's presence, finding flaws in Ryan's marketing proposals that needed extensive revision. His behavior was irrational, unprofessional, and completely unlike him. His assistant gave him concerned looks. His business partners commented that he seemed distracted. Blake knew he was losing control, but he couldn't seem to stop himself. The breaking point came on a Thursday afternoon when Blake walked past Sophia's cubicle and saw Ryan teaching her some new design software. Ryan was standing behind Sophia's chair, leaning over her shoulder, his hand covering hers on the mouse as he guided it across the screen. Sophia was laughing at something he said. Her face tilted up toward his, and Blake felt something snap inside him. He couldn't do this anymore. Couldn't watch from the sidelines while another man pursued her. Couldn't pretend he didn't feel what he felt. Blake Morrison had spent his entire adult life being controlled and rational. But Sophia Martinez had walked into his life, spilled coffee on his shirt, somehow managed to dismantle every defense he had built. He had no idea what he was going to do about it. But he knew that everything was about to change. Ryan Chen had been planning this for 2 weeks, and Friday night finally arrived. He stood by Sophia's desk at 5:30, looking polished in dark jeans and a fitted blue sweater that brought out his eyes. "So are you ready for the best Italian food of your life?" Ryan asked, flashing that confident smile that made most women melt. Sophia saved her work and shut down her computer, feeling a mixture of excitement and nervousness. She had agreed to dinner after Ryan had asked her in front of half the design team, She hadn't been able to think of a polite way to refuse. Besides, maybe it was time. Maybe Ryan was exactly what she needed to finally experience what she had been missing all these years. "Ready as I'll ever be," she said. Grabbing her purse and cardigan, they walked toward the elevator together, Ryan chatting easily about the restaurant he had chosen. Sophia listened and nodded, trying to relax into the moment. She didn't notice Blake standing in his office doorway, watching them leave with an expression that would have frightened anyone who knew him well. The restaurant was elegant but not overly formal, with soft lighting and white tablecloths. Ryan ordered wine without asking if Sophia wanted any, then launched into stories about his previous job, his college days, his ambitious plans for the marketing department. Sophia tried to focus, tried to be present, but something felt off. Ryan was handsome and successful and clearly interested in her. This should have been exciting. Instead, she felt like she was playing a role in someone else's story. "So tell me about you," Ryan said, finally turning his attention her way. "How does a beautiful woman like you stay single in this city?" Before Sophia could answer, a familiar deep voice cut through the ambient restaurant noise. "Sophia, thank goodness I found you." She turned to see Blake Morrison striding toward their table, his face carefully arranged in an expression of professional concern. He was still in his work clothes, though his tie was loosened and his hair looked like he had been running his hands through it. "Mr. Morrison?" Sophia half stood from her chair. "What are you doing here?" "There's an emergency with the Sanderson account," Blake said smoothly. "They've moved up their presentation to Monday morning, and we need to completely revise the design proposal. I've been trying to reach you for the past hour." Sophia's hand flew to her purse. "Oh no, I must have silenced my phone. I'm so sorry." Ryan cleared his throat pointedly. "Can it wait until tomorrow? We're kind of in the middle of something here." Blake finally acknowledged Ryan's presence with a cool glance. "The client is threatening to pull the account. It's a $12 million contract. No, it cannot wait until tomorrow." Sophia looked between the two men, her stomach twisting with anxiety. The Sanderson account was huge. If they lost it because she was at dinner, she would never forgive herself. "I have to go," she said to Ryan apologetically. "I'm really sorry. Maybe we can reschedule." Ryan's jaw tightened, but he forced a smile. "Sure, another time." Blake was already guiding Sophia toward the exit with a hand on her lower back. Once they were outside, he led her to his car, parked at the curb. "I don't understand," Sophia said as they pulled into traffic. "Why didn't Jim handle this?" "He's the account manager." "Jim is at his daughter's wedding in Seattle," Blake replied without missing a beat. "What about Patricia?" "She's his backup." Blake's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "Also unavailable." Sophia fell silent, watching the city lights blur past. Something about this didn't add up, but she couldn't quite put her finger on what. They weren't driving toward the office. They were driving toward the upscale neighborhood where she knew Blake lived. "Where are we going?" she asked quietly. Blake was quiet for a long moment. Then he pulled the car over to the side of the road, put it in park, and turned to face her fully. "There is no emergency," he admitted. Sophia stared at him. "What?" "The Sanderson presentation isn't until Wednesday. Jim is not at a wedding. I lied to get you away from that restaurant. How would you do that?" Sophia's voice rose with confusion and the beginning of anger. "You made me abandon Ryan in the middle of dinner. You made me think my job was at risk, because I couldn't stand watching you with him for another second," Blake said, his voice raw with an emotion she had never heard from him before. "Because for 3 months I've been trying to stay away from you, trying to do the right thing, and it's killing me. Because that man doesn't deserve you, doesn't see you the way I see you." Sophia's breath caught in her throat. "Blake, what are you saying?" He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and cupped her face with one hand. "I'm saying that I've been leaving you those notes. Sending the coffee to your desk. Making sure you're safe and appreciated and recognized for the incredible work you do. I'm saying that I think about you constantly. That I haven't been able to focus on anything else since the day you spilled coffee on me and looked at me with those beautiful, terrified eyes." "But you have rules," Sophia whispered. "You don't date employees?" "You've said it 100 times. Rules are meant to be broken when you meet someone worth breaking them for," Blake said. "And Sophia, you are worth it." You're worth every risk, every complication, every bit of gossip and judgment that will come our way. I don't know what to say. Say you feel it too. Tell me I'm not alone in this. Sophia closed her eyes, her heart racing. She thought about all those anonymous kindnesses over the past months, the way Blake had looked at her in meetings, the electricity she felt whenever he was near. She had attributed it to nervousness about working for the CEO, but now she recognized it for what it really was. Attraction, connection. The beginning of something she had never let herself want. Before I feel it too, she whispered. Blake's eyes darkened with intensity. Can I kiss you? Yes. The kiss was everything Sophia's first kiss should have been. Soft and searching at first, then deepening as Blake's hand moved to the back of her neck, his fingers threading through her hair. Sophia had no experience to guide her, but instinct took over. She reached up to grip his shoulders, opening her mouth when his tongue traced her bottom lip. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Blake rested his forehead against hers. Come home with me, he said. Just to talk. I promise. I want to do this right, Sophia nodded, trusting him in a way she had never trusted anyone. Blake's penthouse was stunning. All clean lines and floor-to-ceiling windows with a view of the glittering city below. But Sophia barely noticed the decor. She was too focused on the man pouring them both water in the open kitchen, his hands slightly unsteady. I want you to know something, Blake said, handing her a glass. I've never felt this way about anyone before. What I feel for you, it's not just attraction. It's everything. The way you concentrate when you're working on a design. The way you're kind to everyone in the office, even the difficult people. The way you've built a life for yourself despite all the things you've had to handle alone. How do you know about that? Sophia asked. I may have read your file more thoroughly than strictly necessary, Blake admitted, with a small, guilty smile. I know your mother passed away 3 years ago. That you put yourself through college while taking care of her. That you have no other family in the city. And I know that you've never let any of that make you bitter or hard. You're still soft and kind and genuine. Tears pricked at Sophia's eyes. My mom always said I felt too much. That I needed to toughen up. Your mother was wrong, Blake said firmly. The way you feel, the way you care, that's your strength. Don't ever let anyone tell you different. He moved closer, and Sophia felt her pulse quicken. Blake reached out to remove her glasses carefully, folding them and setting them on the counter. Then he kissed her again. This time there was nothing tentative about it. Sophia let herself fall into the sensation. Let herself stop overthinking and just feel. Blake's hands were gentle but sure as they moved over her back, pulling her closer. When he lifted her and she instinctively wrapped her legs around his waist, she felt powerful in a way she never had before. Tell me if you want me to stop, Blake murmured against her neck. At any point, I mean it, Sophia. I don't want you to stop, she said. I want this. I want you. Blake carried her to his bedroom, laying her on the bed like she was something precious. He took his time undressing her, kissing every inch of skin as it was revealed, whispering about her beauty, her softness, how perfect she was. When Sophia shyly admitted it was her first time with everything, Blake's expression turned almost reverent. I'll take care of you, he promised. I'll make sure it's everything you deserve. And he did. He was patient and attentive, watching her face for every reaction, adjusting his touch to what made her gasp and arch into him. When they finally came together, Blake held her gaze. Sophia felt something click into place deep in her chest. This was what she had been waiting for. Not just physical intimacy, but emotional connection. Trust. Love. Even if it was too soon to say the word, afterward, they lay tangled together. Blake's fingers drawing patterns on her bare shoulder. Stay with me this weekend, he said. Let's not think about work or complications or anything else. Just us. Okay, Sophia agreed, already half asleep against his chest. Monday morning arrived too quickly. Sophia had eventually gone to her apartment on Sunday evening to get work clothes. But Blake had followed in his car to make sure she got home safely, then picked her up Monday morning for work. When they walked into the office together, the reaction was immediate. Conversation stopped. Heads turned. Sophia felt her face burning. But Blake simply kept his hand on the small of her back and smiled at everyone they passed. "Conference room, 5 minutes," he announced to the gathered crowd. "I have an announcement." Once everyone was assembled, Blake stood at the head of the table with Sophia beside him. "Sophia and I are in a relationship," he said simply. "I'm aware this goes against previous company policy, so I'm changing that policy effective immediately. Disclosed, consensual relationships between employees are permitted, with the understanding that professional conduct must be maintained at all times. HR will be drafting new guidelines this week. Any questions?" Ryan Chen sat in the back, his face tight with barely suppressed anger. "This seems like a conflict of interest. So would be if Sophia reported directly to me. But she doesn't," Blake countered smoothly. "She reports to Patricia in the design department. I will not be involved in any decisions regarding her employment, compensation, or advancement. Those will be handled by her direct supervisor and HR. Next question?" There were none. Over the following weeks, Ryan tried various tactics to undermine their relationship. He filed a formal complaint with HR, claiming Blake had coerced Sophia. He spread rumors that Sophia was only dating Blake for career advancement. He even tried to poach her for a project that would have required extensive travel. Clearly hoping to separate them, Blake handled each challenge with calm professionalism, documenting everything and working with HR and legal to ensure all proper protocols were followed. Eventually, Ryan requested a transfer to the company's West Coast office, which Blake approved immediately. "Good riddance," Sophia said when she heard the news. She was curled up on Blake's couch, reviewing design mock-ups on her laptop while he read through contracts beside her. "Agreed," Blake said, then set aside his work to pull her into his lap. "I have something for you." He handed her a small wrapped box. Inside was a key. "Move in with me," Blake said. "I know it's fast, but I don't want to spend another night without you. This place is too big and too empty without you in it." Sophia kissed him softly. "Yes, absolutely yes." 5 years passed in what felt like both an eternity and an instant. Sophia was now 31, and the shy, inexperienced woman who had spilled coffee on the CEO was almost unrecognizable. She had been promoted to lead creative director, overseeing a team of 15 designers. Her work had won industry awards. She commanded rooms with quiet confidence and wore her success gracefully. But the biggest change was in how she carried herself. She moved through the world knowing she was loved completely, and that knowledge had transformed everything. Blake, now 13-9, had softened in ways his old business partners found almost shocking. He smiled more. He took actual vacations. He left work at reasonable hours to have dinner with Sophia. He had even adopted a cat, a ridiculous orange tabby named Mango, that Sophia had rescued from a shelter. Their relationship had not been without challenges. There had been difficult conversations about power dynamics and perception. Sophia had insisted on being evaluated for promotion by an independent committee with no connection to Blake. They had navigated her rapid career advancement carefully, making sure every step was earned and documented. There had also been regular relationship challenges. Blake's tendency to be overprotective. Sophia's occasional insecurity that people only respected her because of who she was dating. Arguments about whose family to visit for holidays. Though with Sophia's mother gone and Blake's parents retired in Florida, this was relatively minor. Through it all, they had chosen each other. Again and again. Now it was a crisp Friday afternoon in October, and Blake was pretending to review quarterly reports while actually watching Sophia through his office window. She was in a meeting with her team, gesturing animatedly as she explained some design concept. And Blake felt his chest tighten with love. In his desk drawer was a ring. He had been carrying it around for 2 months, waiting for the perfect moment. But he was beginning to realize there was no such thing as a perfect moment. There was only the right person and the decision to commit. He picked up his desk phone and called Sophia's extension. "Hey," she answered, her voice warm with the intimacy of long familiarity. "What's up?" "Clear your schedule for this weekend. Pack a bag. Bring that red dress." "Blake Morrison, are you being mysterious?" "I'm being romantic. There's a difference. I'll pick you up at home in 2 hours. No, I have that presentation on Monday, which is already perfect, and you know it. Stop hiding behind work and say yes." Ow. Sophia laughed. "Fine, yes. 2 hours. Blake drove them north along the coast, to a small luxury resort perched on cliffs overlooking the ocean. Their suite had a private balcony and a view that seemed to stretch into infinity. "This is beautiful," Sophia said, stepping onto the balcony as the sun began its descent toward the horizon. "What's the occasion? Does there need to be an occasion?" Blake wrapped his arms around her from behind, resting his chin on her shoulder. "With you? Usually not. But this feels different. You've been planning something. You know me too well." They dressed for dinner. Sophia in the red dress he had requested, and Blake in a dark suit. The resort's restaurant was intimate and elegant, but Blake had arranged something even better. A private table on a terrace overlooking the ocean, set with candles and white roses. "'Kay, now I know something is happening," Sophia said as they were seated. "Blake, what is this?" "This is me realizing I've been an idiot," Blake said, reaching across the table to take her hand. "I've been carrying a ring around for 2 months, waiting for some magical perfect moment. But then I realized that every moment with you is perfect. Every single day you choose to love me is a gift I don't deserve, but will spend the rest of my life trying to earn." Sophia's eyes widened. Filling with tears, Blake stood and moved around the table, pulling the ring box from his jacket pocket and dropping to one knee. "Sophia Lena Martinez, 5 years ago you walked into my life and turned everything upside down. You made me believe in love. You made me want to be a better man. You've been my partner, my best friend, my home. I cannot imagine a single day of my future without you in it. Will you marry me?" The ring was a deep blue sapphire surrounded by diamonds. Unique and elegant, just like her. "Yes," Sophia whispered. Then louder, "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes." Blake slid the ring onto her finger and stood, pulling her into his arms and kissing her deeply, while the staff watching from inside the restaurant broke into applause. "I love you," Sophia said against his lips. "I loved you when I spilled coffee on you, even though I didn't know it yet. I loved you when you showed up at that restaurant to rescue me from a terrible date. I loved you the first time you told me I was perfect exactly as I am, and I will love you every day for the rest of my life." "That's convenient," Blake said with a grin, "because I plan to spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret saying yes." They stayed on the terrace long after dinner ended, watching stars emerge one by one over the dark ocean, making plans and dreaming out loud about their future. 2 weeks later, they hosted an engagement party at the office. It was Sophia's idea. The company had been part of their story from the beginning, and she wanted to celebrate there. The entire top floor had been transformed with lights, flowers, and a catering spread that probably cost more than Sophia's first car. Everyone who had witnessed their relationship from the beginning was there. Patricia from HR, who had carefully navigated all the policy changes. The design team, who had watched Sophia bloom from shy newcomer to confident leader. Even some of Blake's business partners, who had taken bets on how long it would take him to propose. "Speech," someone called out, and the crowd took up the chant. Blake raised his glass, pulling Sophia close to his side. 5 years ago, this woman spilled coffee on me, and I thought my day was ruined. Turned out, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Sophia has taught me that love isn't about control or rules or protecting yourself from risk. It's about finding someone worth being vulnerable for, someone who sees all your flaws and loves you anyway, someone who makes you want to be brave. He turned to look at Sophia directly. "You made me brave enough to break my own rules, brave enough to admit I needed someone, brave enough to believe I could be the man you deserved. Thank you for choosing me. Thank you for being patient with me. Thank you for building this life with me." Sophia wiped tears from her eyes. "You all know I'm not great at public speaking, so I'll keep this short. Blake, you told me once that my softness was my strength. You were the first person who ever made me feel like I didn't have to change or toughen up to be worthy. You created space for me to be exactly who I am. That's the greatest gift anyone has ever given me. I cannot wait to be your wife." The room erupted in cheers and applause. As the party continued around them, Blake pulled Sophia onto the balcony where they could see the city lights spreading out below. "Do you remember standing out here 5 years ago, watching Ryan Chen flirt with you down at your desk?" Blake asked. "You were so jealous," Sophia teased. "I could practically feel the possessiveness radiating through the window." "I was losing my mind," Blake admitted. "I had all these feelings I didn't know how to handle, All these impulses that went against everything I thought I believed. And now I know that the best decisions are the ones that scare you. The ones that make you question everything you thought you knew about yourself. He kissed her softly. Loving you has been the scariest, best decision of my life. We should probably get back to the party, Sophia said reluctantly. Probably. But let's stay here just one more minute. I want to remember this. Standing here with you, knowing that our whole future is ahead of us. They stood together looking out over the city, both thinking about the journey that had brought them here. A spilled cup of coffee. A workplace romance that should never have happened. Two people who found each other despite all the reasons they should have stayed apart. Inside, the party continued. Their friends and colleagues celebrated, shared stories, and made toasts. But out on that balcony, Blake and Sophia simply held each other. Content in the knowledge that they had found something rare and precious. Love that transformed. Love that challenged. Love that made them both braver and better than they ever could have been alone. Ready? Blake finally asked.
Always, Sophia answered.
Taking his hand, they walked back into the party together. Into their future. Into the rest of their beautifully complicated, wonderfully imperfect, absolutely perfect life. And somewhere in the crowd, Marina raised her glass with a knowing smile. Having won the office betting pool by correctly predicting the proposal date down to the week. Some love stories were written in the stars. Others were written in boardrooms and coffee stains, in the brave decision to break your own rules for the right person. This was theirs, and it was everything. Thank you for taking that time to listen to this story. If you've enjoyed this content, don't forget to click like. Share this story with your friends and family, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more meaningful stories.